that we can't be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unless He makes us from amongst His grateful servants. And this army was made up of jinn, men, and also birds. رَبِّ أَوْزِعْنِي أَنْ أَشْكُرَ نِعْمَتَكَ الَّتِي أَنْعَمْتَ عَلَيْهِ. My Lord, inspire me to be able to be grateful to you.
تبارك الذي نزل الفرقان على عبده ليكون للعالمين نذيرا.
Bismillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Welcome back to Quranic Supplications, and for this episode we're going to touch upon the life of Sulayman alayhi salam. Now Sulayman alayhi salam was a great prophet and a king, and he was also the son of a great prophet and a king, because his father was none other than Dawood alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praised these two individuals in the Quran and mentioned them in numerous places. And in one of these places Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that Sulayman alayhi salam made a dua. Now this dua isn't the focus of this episode, but it provides much needed context. So Sulayman alayhi salam said, وَهَبْ لِي مُلْكًا لَا يَنْبَغِي لِأَحَدٍ مِّن بَعْدِي. He asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give him a kingdom the likes of which wouldn't be given to anyone after him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted his dua, and he was given control of the winds, and they blew gently in whatever direction he commanded. He was also given the control of the jinn, and they would do whatever he ordered them to do. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also gave him the ability to understand the speech of animals and even communicate with them. And this wasn't given to anyone other than Sulayman alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah An-Naml, وَحُشِرَ لِسُلَيْمَانَ جُنُودُهُ مِنَ الْجِنِّ وَالْإِنسِ وَالطَّيْرِ فَهُمْ يُوزَعُونَ. Sulayman's armies were gathered for him, and this army was made up of jinn, men, and also birds. And as they were traveling, Allah says, حَتَّى إِذَا أَتَوْا عَلَى وَادِ النَّمْلِ. They came across a valley of ants. قالت نملة يا أيها النمل ادخلوا مساكنكم لا يحطمنكم سليمان وجنوده وهم لا يشعرون. One ant spoke up and it communicated with the other ants, and it said, O ants, enter your dwellings, enter your homes, so that Sulayman and his armies don't trample you unintentionally. فتبسم ضاحكا من قولها. Sulayman alayhi salam was amused by this ant's advice, and he smiled. And in this moment of humble gratitude, Sulayman alayhi salam recognized the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon him. So he made a dua and he said, رَبِّ أَوْزِعْنِي أَنْ أَشْكُرَ نِعْمَتَكَ الَّتِي أَنْعَمْتَ عَلَيْهِ. My Lord, inspire me to be able to be grateful to you for the blessings you have bestowed upon me. This is a very important dua. You and I have to understand that we can't be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unless He makes us from amongst His grateful servants. And if you really ponder over this point, you come to the realization, how can I be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if Allah wasn't to give me these blessings? How can a person that's been blind all of his life be grateful for sight? How can a person that's been poor his whole life be grateful for riches? How can someone that's been sick his whole life be grateful for health? So you and I can't be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unless He inspires us to do so. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this aid and this inspiration. So this is a very important dua, and I can't emphasize this enough. We need to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to inspire us and to aid us to be from amongst His grateful servants. Otherwise we will be from amongst the ungrateful. Sulayman alayhi salam said in his dua, رَبِّ أَوْزِعْنِي أَنْ أَشْكُرَ نِعْمَتَكَ الَّتِي أَنْعَمْتَ عَلَيْهِ وَعَلَى وَالِدَيْهِ. My Lord, inspire me to be grateful to you for the blessings you have bestowed upon me, and also the blessings you have bestowed upon my parents. Now, who were the parents of Sulayman alayhi salam? His father was Dawood alayhi salam, a great prophet and a king, and his mother was a righteous, obedient servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Sulayman benefited from being raised in a righteous home, and that's why he is thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the blessings upon his parents. And the same goes for you and I. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed our parents in one way or another, and we've benefited from these blessings, and that's why we need to be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for them. And then Sulayman alayhi salam says, وَأَنْ أَعْمَلَ صَالِحًا تَرْضَى. And give me the ability to perform actions that you are pleased with. Now some of us may perform actions, and because of our short-sightedness we think these are actions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with, but that may not be the case. So when we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala using this dua, we're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the ability to perform actions that are done khalisan lillah, sincerely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and actions that are upon the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because actions that fulfill these two conditions are actions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts and are actions that He is pleased with. And then Sulayman alayhi salam concludes his dua and he says, وَأَدْخِلْنِي بِرَحْمَتِكَ فِي عِبَادِكَ الصَّالِحِينَ, and admit me by your mercy into your righteous slaves. And this is very similar to the dua that we've already covered of Yusuf alayhi salam, where he says, توفني مسلما وألحقني بالصالحين, allow me to die as a Muslim and join me with the righteous in Jannah. It always amazes me when prophets make such du'as. These are prophets that are guaranteed Jannah, and they do not make these du'as because they are virtue signaling. No, they have sincere fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they have hope in His mercy, and that's why they're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to enter them into Jannah. So this was the dua of Sulayman alayhi salam. And Shaykh Sa'di rahimahullah mentions that there's a dua very similar to this that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in Surah Al-Ahqaf. Allah says, وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ إِحْسَانًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enjoined upon us to be kind to our parents. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the example of an individual. And He says, حَمَلَتْهُ أُمُّهُ كُرْهًا وَوَضَعَتْهُ كُرْهًا وَحَمْلُهُ وَفِصَالُهُ 30 شهرًا. Allah proceeds to tell us about the hardships that his mother went through, the hardship that she went through while carrying him in her pregnancy. And this is followed by the hardship of giving birth to him. And that's not the end of it. Then comes the hardship of breastfeeding and taking care of this child in the early years of its life, when it's completely dependent upon its parents. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, حَتَّى إِذَا بَلَغَ أَشُدَّهُ وَبَلَغَ 40 سَنَةً. And then this man gains maturity and he gets to full strength at the age of 40. And then he chooses this time to make a dua that is very similar to the dua that Sulayman alayhi salam made. And he says, رَبِّ أَوْزِعْنِي أَنْ أَشْكُرَ نِعْمَتَكَ الَّتِي أَنْعَمْتَ عَلَيَّ وَعَلَى وَالِدَيَّ وَأَنْ أَعْمَلَ صَالِحًا تَرْضَى. My Lord, inspire me and give me the ability to be grateful for the blessings that you have bestowed upon me and the blessings you've bestowed upon my parents. And give me the ability to perform righteous actions that you are pleased with. And then he says, وَأَصْلِحْ لِي فِي ذُرِّيَّتِي, and make my offspring righteous. And how important is this dua, especially in this day and age, especially in the West. The guidance of our children is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. No matter how much effort and hard work you put in, now you and I may put in effort and hard work, and if we see in our children that which pleases us and pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we should never say, this is because of my hard work, this is because of the effort I put in. No, this is because of the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon you. Are we better than Nuh alayhi salam? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, how many years did Nuh alayhi salam spend calling his people to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and worship Him? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us 950 years. 950 years. So how much effort do you think he put into his family? And yet one of his sons refused to get onto the ship with them, and he died amongst the kuffar. So we need to recognize that the guidance of our children is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we need to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and ask Him to grant us righteous offspring. And finally, a point of reflection here, my dear brothers and sisters. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the example of this individual, this person that reached his full strength and maturity at the age of 40. And at this time he recognized the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon him. Because this is rare for a person to recognize the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon them while they are at full strength. How many of us are sick today and we look back to yesterday when we were healthy? And how many of us become old and we look back to a time where we were young and fit? And how many of us are stuck in financial issues, and perhaps there was a time a few years ago when we didn't have these problems? It's so easy to look back at a time when you had these blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon you, but to recognize them in the moment is very rare. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions this as a point of praise. And this is another emphasis as to why we need to make this dua, need to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to inspire us to be grateful to Him. We need to make this dua in the hopes that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes us amongst the servants that He speaks about in the next verse. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ نَتَقَبَّلُ عَنْهُمْ أَحْسَنَ مَا عَمِلُوا. And they are the ones from whom we accept the best of what they used to do. وَنَتَجَاوَزُ عَنْ سِيئَاتِهِمْ. And we overlook and forgive their sins. فِي أَصْحَابِ الْجَنَّةِ. They will be amongst the companions of Jannah. وَعْدَ الصِّدْقِ الَّذِي كَانُوا يُوعَدُونَ. And this is a true promise that has been given to them. We'll end this episode there, inshaAllah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakumullah khair for watching. Comment down below what you thought of the video. And if you enjoyed, then leave a like and subscribe for more. And share so we can all be a part of the Quranic revival.